What are your thoughts on being in a music hub city that doesn't support your genre or is not? This is sort of a funny thing. Like I think that a lot of bands will be in a city that is great for their genre, and there are lots of bands in that market, and their complaint will be, oh, it's too crowded, man. We can't make any headway because it's too crowded. And then other bands will be like, well, I'm in a city that nobody listens to this stuff, and there are no other bands doing what I'm doing, and that's why I didn't succeed. And, you know, maybe both of them are right. Maybe it's good to be in a market where it's kind of in the middle. I don't know. Or maybe one of them is wrong. You do have a challenge when you're in a city that doesn't embrace your genre. If it's a big enough population, though, you know, you need to find those people. And the internet is really, really cool for that. You can really target and micro-target through things like Facebook ads and really find those people. And think about it, if you are a fan of the genre that your band is making in a city, you're thinking the same thing. Oh, it's a bummer. I live somewhere where nobody else likes what I like, right? But when they discover you, they are going to be devoted to you. So you will have a challenge. Getting gigs is going to be a huge challenge. Because what will happen is, like, no touring band is going to want to play your city in your genre because there aren't enough people who are going to show up. You are going to have the problem where you have, you know, if you're going to try to headline a show, you can't find openers. It's really hard. Let's see, outerloop.group/tour, I think it is. outerloop.group/tour. I'll check that. Just a second. That link will take you to a book called Tour Smart by Martin Atkins. If your market is not going to embrace what you do, get out. Get out of your market and play the markets around your market. Build in 2 cities within a couple hours, 3 hours, 4 hours drive, excuse me, of your, oh good, look, you got it, great. Just follow that book. That book is freaking awesome on this strategy. If you haven't read it, reread it, or read it. And if you have read it, reread it. Take notes. Think about that book in terms of your band. It's got awesome advice. I wish I could stand here and go, hey, I got a bunch of ideas. I'll tell you, these are my great ideas. And they're not. It's Martin Atkins, and he gets all the credit. Brilliant stuff. Yeah, so just follow that stuff. You know, it's great when you're able to build, you know, well, that's a good question. Like, all right, like if you were to sit down and go, okay, well, these are the cities that would be awesome for me to be in. What are those cities? And can you get to them fairly regularly and become almost like a local? You know, especially if you're in the north, Hartford or something, you've got like a dozen major cities within like 2 or 3 hours drive. It's ridiculous. So you can make yourself a hometown band in a bunch of other places by just like being there every couple weeks. And I should add, like, there's this perception issue, a huge perception issue with being a local band that I think is detrimental to your career as a band that is too big for your market. Like every time you play, it's like an occasion. There should be a party. There should be pre-parties and post-parties for your performance. Even in your hometown, if you can make that happen, that's gold, right? When you get that perception from people that you are even bigger than you actually are, that is freaking great. When you are perceived as a local band, and I had a video on that sort of touched on this idea, talking about radio. Put that up a few weeks ago. Quick, you know, try to scroll through and try to find it. Just talking about this idea of, like, you know, when you get like the local commercial radio station, they're like, oh, well, we'll put you on our local music show. Well, screw that. I mean, don't. It's worse than being on not being on the radio at all, because now the way that people are introduced to your band, they're introduced with that like association of being just a local. Like, screw that. Like, the value of being a local band is that you become friends with your fans. The value of the internet is you can become friends with your fans everywhere. So use that as the value, but don't allow people to perceive you as a local band. And I guess to draw back to your question, Luke, like, don't look at not being a local band to a city. Embrace it. Embrace it. Go and hit the other cities as an outside force, as a band so big you just can't be contained. You know, you should be from outer space. Every band should be from outer space. So hopefully, hopefully that works. Yeah, Nashville, our market was more Europe, and Chicago. Chicago, great town, love that. Nashville, haven't been to Nashville in a long time. Yeah, but you know, even in Nashville, I know it's, you know, the whole thing is about being a country western and all that sort of thing, but you know, there's some great bands coming out of there, and from all sorts of genres. Don't ask me to name one. What the hell am I talking about? You live there, and I don't know nothing. But yeah, use it as the advantage, man. You know, but take advantage too. I talk about the idea of like the value of getting a producer. And I'm going to just touch on this kind of quickly because I covered this in some depth in a video before. If you haven't seen it before, and to recap, the idea is that the way that bands normally do it is that they write and they record and they produce all their stuff themselves early in their career, and then their career gets up, and they're still doing it themselves, and then they get signed, get an audience. Now the label's like, well, now we're going to invest in a producer, and they're going to help you, all that stuff. And I think that model should be flipped. I think that bands early in their career, rather than spending money on, you know, another stack of amps, more drums, top of the food chain equipment, instead of spending money on recording a double album, you know, that nobody's going to hear, spend the money on producer early in the career who will teach you how to craft a great song, a song that will turn audiences on, who will work with you to write awesome songs that will get the attention of audiences, get the attention of labels, get the attention of the industry. Work with a producer who will be in the studio with you to make sure that your recording sound is awesome as they possibly can, and learn from them. And then later on, when you got money, you can be like, I don't need a producer. I learned everything I need to know. How awesome is that, right? And you might be right if you paid enough attention. Now you've got a sound. Now you've got a methodology to your songs that you know your fans appreciate. You've got your habits and your just all the explorations, kind of like it's done, right? And now it's like you just need to be you and just be more and more awesome as you. No producer can come in and tell you how to be a better you. I mean, yeah, there's some producers out there who will help, you know, find a new shade and a new way to do things, but the value of that is minimal when you already know how to craft an awesome song and how to get awesome recordings and all that stuff, right? And so if early, really super awesome value that you can get from a producer. So highly recommend it. Now, all that to bring back to the idea, you're in the city of Nashville, and there are a ton of great producers. And, you know, now they might not be necessarily for your genre, but depending on your sound and all that stuff, I am of the belief, at least, that at its core, song is a song, and genres are just ways of reinterpreting the basics, right, of that song. And if you can find a producer, an open-minded producer, a producer who you hear something in what that producer is doing that you go, I would like to apply that. I think I could apply that. We're thinking about this stuff out of the box now. When you can find that producer in Nashville, you can work with them early in your career, and you can get your sound, get your songcraft, maybe even have a touch of Nashville in whatever it is that you do, right? That could be key. That could be awesome, and you could have gold sitting in them their hills, and you can find it, and it may not sound genre-wise like what it is that you sound like or want to sound like, but at the foundation, the idea of great songcraft, you're in. There's gold in their hills. Now, I add another thing to it. Another advantage to using a producer outside your genre, especially when you're early in your career, is that when you're able to find a sound or something that sets you apart from everybody else in your genre, that is going to get people's attention, that is going to get people excited, and that is going to be just nothing but good for your career. Now, as an artist, I don't know. I can't speak to that, right? Maybe you, as an artist, you're like, man, I just want to sound like everybody else in my genre. Okay, maybe that's cool. But I would think, as an artist, if I were an artist, and thank goodness those days are done for me for the sake of humanity, because as a creative, I would think that you want to add something to your genre that people haven't heard before. Not just your voice, but like something even more intrinsic, more fundamental than that, a new idea. You have to come to your genre with a new idea. And if you don't have one, that's okay. Find a producer that you can work with who might be able to find that idea with you. Not for you, with you. Because this is your career. This is the songs you produce, the songs that you record, the songs that you put out there. 20 years from now, you may still be chained to that song. 40 years from now, you might be chained to that song. Guess what about that producer? Is he chained to that song? Hell no, he's at a dinner party going, you won't believe what paid for that chandelier. It's the song I did 30 years ago. That's the only thing that changed them to that song, right? You're the one out on stage who has to play it. So don't do anything that a producer suggests that to you, you go, man, I don't want to live with that, because you will. So, yeah, so it's a combination of advice there, man. Like, try to think about your hometown as an advantage, despite the fact that you think that it's not necessarily a plus for your genre. You are in a music hub with a lot of world-class talent for songcraft that can bring something new to your music that could be a plus for you. Do goth folk or industrial polka, I don't know, but whatever it is that you do, like, there's a new idea that you can bring to it, and it's your idea, or is a new idea that you can produce with a producer, and that could be freaking awesome.